What's up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 250 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. 250. Actually, it's more than 250 because I never count the awards shows, but officially 250 episodes down of this show. And see you later, everybody. We're not going to do anymore. All right. Obviously, we have a bunch of different stuff that we're going to be doing for this week, everybody. And before we get into that, I'm going to introduce who's going to be talking on the show. I am your host, Tony Mango, and joining me on the panel on the mic for this episode is Mike Payton.
Hey.
And Kaylin Ferris.
I need about 250.
I could give you 150.
I was going to do the tree fitty, but we'll have to wait 2 years to do that.
And Steven Wago.
250. You're a loser.
On the card for tonight's main event is going to be Backlash Predictions, which is going to be coming up after our middle rest hold break section. That includes the wrestling trivia question of the week. But the first thing that we need to do is run down the hot tags. This is going to be recapping some of the different things that have happened in the world of pro wrestling over the past few days. And let's start off with the gossip chit-chat section of the show. Supposedly, CM Punk and Colt Cabana have had a big falling out. They don't follow each other on Twitter anymore. Ooh, that's the main thing that people follow nowadays to figure out if people hate each other. Colt Cabana was backstage at Monday Night Raw recently. And if the story is true, Punk feels that that's going to hurt his lawsuit in the long run. So now they're not friends anymore and that kind of BS like that. But obviously, we don't care about some of their drama. The big question that I have to ask you guys right here is, do you think that this actually would hurt his lawsuit? I mean, this lawsuit's been going on for a while, and it doesn't seem like it's really getting all that kind of traction and stuff, but would Punk having a friend at Backstage Raw really put any kind of damage on a lawsuit against WWE? I doubt it, right?
Of course it wouldn't.
Unless
CM Punk himself could go there, and it wouldn't cause damage to his lawsuit. Unless he had some type of, restraining order. He's being a fucking little bitch, as he usually is. This is stupid.
Short of actually going up to the doctor and going, yo, Punk's lying about everything, there's not much you can do. Big thing to point out with this is it was reported by Front Row Brian, who is a lot more known to the MMA community. The guy's got a history of reporting news and getting about 50% of the facts right. So take it with a grain of salt.
So
The only thing that I'm thinking is if maybe Colt Cabana was supposed to be some kind of witness, like character witness or something on the side of CM Punk. That's all I can think of. But I don't really think this will have much to do with anything. So I think it's all blown out of proportion again.
Now, Punk's going to fight Saturday, right? Or is that another event?
Mm-hmm.
No, I believe that's a Saturday,
Yep.
You guys think he's got a chance?
Nope.
But he's got a chance. I mean, it's a game. I mean, it's the sport of punch face. Anyone can win.
He might have had a chance, but the problem is Colt Cabana went to Raw, so now his chances of winning the match are less.
Oh, God damn it.
Here's the thing: people wanted to say, "Oh, Punk's got no chance in hell." He's got slim chances. But the fact is, he's trained with a world championship gym for 2 years. Having the 2 years as opposed to a one is only going to have benefited him. With that said, he's got a broken 37-year-old body that's had pro wrestling. Taking all those bumps, that's the biggest issue. He's going up against a young guy. But if you can overcome that, then great. The issue is we don't know how good Mickey Gall is either.
What kind of record does his opponent have? We don't know.
No. He has actually, what I found out recently, though, is that guy's had 5 amateur fights. So does stack the deck a little more.
Has he won them? Do you know?
Yes, he's won all of them. I think he's won all of them in the first round by submission, except for one.
Oh, and this will be fun to watch.
So if I had to predict this fight, I would say first round guillotine choke from the back by Mickey Gall.
Oh, I'm very curious to see what happens. I'm going to try to check that out. And if anybody does check it out, leave your comments below. Tell us what you thought of the fight.
Is he being billed as CM Punk or Phil Brooks?
Phil Brooks, right?
Yes, both of them. I've seen a lot of things bill him as CM Punk, but they'll go, Phil Brooks better known as CM Punk. So come fight night, I'm not too sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they did announce both, kind of like how they announced the nicknames for all the fighters.
Gotcha.
Like Andrade, CN Almas. They're going to go Phil, CM Punk, Brooks, that kind of thing.
Maybe.
Let's go a little bit more into the fanboy side of things with some movie news. Chris Benoit, the film that is going to be coming out, it's called Crossface. It's got a director now in Lexi Alexander, who's most known for doing Punisher Warzone, which was okay for its time when superhero films weren't as good as they are now, but no news about casting and stuff yet, although that just means that this film has not been dropped yet. If they have a director, that means it's not quite in development hell. So, you guys interested in a Chris Benoit film? It's not in WWE's wheelhouse, so it's not like they're going to be able to edit too much of what's going on. Any interest in like people that could be cast in certain roles, different stuff like that?
I'm sure someone might be able to make the argument, but I would have cared a lot more if it was closer to when it actually happened. At this point, I mean, is there any part of the story they can tell that we don't already know?
Maybe they know the
honestly,
actual
for
story
just
on it.
because. Just for the family's well-being, I'd rather them just leave this fucking story alone. They have to relive it every time some twat online goes, "You should be in the Hall of Fame." Let alone a fucking movie being released. I'd rather it just not see the light of day.
Peyton or Galen, any thoughts?
Not really interested. If it's on and I'm flipping through the channels, I might watch a few minutes of it, but I'm not going to go out of my way to see it.
It's always interesting to see these types of things from people outside of a wrestling perspective. I like seeing these wrestling movies, such as The Wrestler and, to a lesser extent, Ready to Rumble. Netflix has a lot of good wrestling type documentaries or series on it as well. It's very cool to see that. Then on one of the most controversial topics in wrestling history ever, that's actually kind of cool to see. And on something that I think the general public actually would get into, like if they made a movie about the Montreal Screwjob, I don't think anyone would give a shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, look forward to that.
They do a follow-up movie. It's going to be the Finger Poke of Doom and stuff. I'm actually kind of interested. I think that this could be pretty interesting if they go like a real serious route and they don't cast a bunch of no names and stuff like that. The couple different fan castings I've seen out there, some of them are pretty interesting. Eric Roberts was brought up as a good person for Vince McMahon. I like that casting a lot. Of course.
Wasn't it rumored like years ago that it was going to be, what's his name? Liam Neeson?
Liam Neeson was in there, yeah. The only couple people that I had heard back years ago when this first started was Liam Neeson for Vince McMahon and Liev Schreiber for Chris Benoit. Now, he's gone out of his way to say, I'm not playing that part, I'm not doing it, that kind of stuff. Ben Foster's brought up as an idea for CM Punk, and we were talking in the Megamaniacs. Peyton even brought it up. He was like, hey, John Morrison could just play himself. Like, he looks exactly the same.
And he's been doing acting classes and all that. That'd be a good thing to put on his resume.
Mm-hmm. Plus, I can't imagine that he would have that big of a part because it's probably going to focus a hell of a lot more on WCW and stuff, which means we would get like Ric Flair, we'd get Eddie Guerrero.
I imagine it's literally just for like, okay, well, this is the night that Chris Benoit was supposed to show up, and nope, these two guys are wrestling instead. So it's probably like a 10-minute scene at most.
Right, yeah. So that, to me, perfect thing to throw Morrison out there. And it's not like he's going to be playing a part where he's like involved in the fucking murders and anything like that, so it's not like a bad image kind of thing. Plus, it's hard to cast a lot of people when they're doing like the wrestling stuff because everybody has to be all in good shape and everything, and how many people really want to put forth the effort of getting in training for those kind of roles. But if you have any fan castings, anybody listening, drop your comments below, tell us what you think. If you want to cast somebody like Dean Malenko or whatever, then pretty interested. So let's move on to another one here. This is going to be, I'm going to package these two together. Rumors of a couple different things with the Alberto Del Rio and Paige situation. One thing is that Paige was supposedly threatened to be fired if she didn't break up with Alberto Del Rio. I don't really buy that. I think that that's kind of just scuttlebutt. But another thing says that Del Rio was pitched to be a Paul Heyman guy before they nixed plans on that. So do you guys think the Paige thing's true? If so, do you think that that's BS? And what do you think about the Paul Heyman idea? Would that have been a good route to take Del Rio instead?
I definitely think it's true. I mean, they put him on different brands, and it was easy to speculate on that. They just got in a relationship, and they're already being split up. It might have been for her benefit. Doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah, because the stories are saying that he's a bad influence on her and stuff, but it's like they're not her parents, you know?
Like, they can say that, but also Paige is a fucking shithead.
Yeah.
She's always causing fucking trouble. I mean, she was going to get into it regardless. The fact that she even got in a relationship with him fucking suggests that.
That's true.
So, like, they don't, like, I don't agree with it, but I kind of see where they're coming from. Honestly, I just don't give a fuck. As far as putting him with Heyman, can't be any worse than putting him with Zeb, right?
Ooh, yeah. Peyton or Killen?
I doubt that she was actually threatened to be fired if she didn't break up with him, but I could see them trying to convince her that it's in her best interest. As far as Del Rio with Paul Heyman, I don't think I'd like to see that. I mean, Paul Heyman is the best talker in the biz right now, but I still don't think that would be a good match pair up. So I'm glad that they never went through with that. The Zeb thing fell flat. So I don't think it would have worked.
Peyton, any thoughts?
I 100% would give credit to the belief that they would do something like this to Paige. They always try to get in people's personal lives. Are you kidding? They want to control every aspect of everyone they have under contract. And if they don't like something that's going on, I mean, they encourage relationships. It's not a problem of two people dating within the company. It was obviously a personal thing about Paige and Del Rio. And specifically, I would say it's Del Rio. I think they saw something wrong with Del Rio. They knew that he was probably on his way out, but they wanted to keep Paige. And they knew if Del Rio got salty and he was with Paige, they might have another situation like Punk and AJ on their hands.
Good point.
So they're
By the
probably trying
way,
to try to
AJ
what they
is
can.
looking fine recently.
When has she not looked fine?
Yeah.
But, I mean, having to
Like-
be alone with CM Punk in a house all day could take a toll on her. But yeah, as far as fucking on topic goes, I totally agree with Payton. And the last thing I wanted to add, I totally forgot. So fuck it.
Well, the other thing I was going to say about Del Rio and Heyman, Heyman's best work, I think, is when he's building up a legit fighter. Like, so, not someone who's got a gimmick, not someone who's got a bunch of flashy colors or any nonsense like that. Someone who is just an ass kicker and could just go out there and do that. Now, if you could build Del Rio like that, like when he first came back and kicked the head off John Cena, if they kept following that up and making him like he's the best athlete in the company, I think they could have pulled that off for sure. But instead, they made him a joke. They put him in the League of Nations. They put him with Zeb. Like, his run since he came back has just been terrible.
Really
not
bad.
worth it. So, other than day one was excellent. Beyond that, awful. If he goes, I do hope he doesn't bring Paige with him because women's wrestling is getting interesting, and I think Paige has a part in that.
And as much as we rag on Paige here and there for different things, she's still one of the best ones that they have. And on Monday Night Raw, at the very least, they need her. They need her bad.
I just
I
remembered
agree.
what I was gonna say, and here's the thing with Peyton. You know what it's fucking gonna get? Every time that I get it, it fucking goes out how I want to articulate it. I'll remember it like 1 o'clock in the morning now. Oh, now I remember it. Carmella. Yeah, I know, it fucking sounds odd. So I generally think they don't want to encourage relationships in the company because as soon as they fucking brought up Big Cass and Enzo, there was this they recorded it backstage, them breaking the news, them coming up to the main roster. And he gave some spiel about how, oh yeah, we're going to keep Carmella down in NXT because she's going to be a big deal. She's going to be a big star. And then she gets fucking drafted to the opposite brand like the next week. I just don't think they want, like...
That was like 2 months after. What are you talking about?
That was
Was
a
it?
little while afterward.
That was quite a while afterwards. And I also don't think they had the plans of bringing her up at that point. I think at that point they were definitely keeping her down. But when they had this brand split and they had to split all the women up, they knew they needed her.
Mhm.
And it's better, I think. I think Carmella brings down their act so much. I think that's what they
Oh,
were
I'm
seeing.
definitely on board with that. Like, I've always thought that Carmella was just weird in that group because every time they'd get a pop and then she'd talk, it'd be like, oh...
Now, I think that there would be a little bit of credibility to it if Liv Morgan comes up and goes to SmackDown because she's dating Enzo. Then maybe we can start speculating. But no, I think that they were just sort of like, well, SmackDown's going to be like the testing ground for a lot of these people. We'll give Ziggler another main event shot. We'll put Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews on there, but we'll keep the people like Sami Zayn and Cesaro on Monday Night Raw that we're like, we already know like they're solidified and stuff.
Let's go with this. What brand is Nikki Bella on now?
Yeah, she's got to be the part of the one that's going to incorporate both John Cena and Daniel Bryan, which means that that's good for Brie and Nikki.
Yeah, but do you think they want to rock the boat with John Cena? Of course she's going to go to the brand he's on. Hey, biggest draw in the company. No relationship for you.
And he goes, oh, all right, I'll just bang somebody else from that show.
You know, this is a much bigger topic than I think we want to go into right now, but is John Cena still the biggest draw in the company anymore?
I would say yeah.
Yep.
He's probably
I
still
think
the biggest merchandise.
there's an
seller.
argument for it, but I think it's closer to iffy than it has been in a decade.
Because
I
who's
think
the other
as
person,
long
you
as-
know?
Who's more of a draw than Cena?
Other than when you count like Brock Lesnar comes in for 3 shows a year.
It depends what you're trying to define as a draw. I mean, he might not be like the main event guy anymore, but he's still like everything you associate WWE with, and that's partially because just how long he's been there. I think when the history books look back on it, honestly, his run's way more impressive in Austin than the Brock's, than Hogan's. The guy is WWE at this point.
Hogan's, I don't know. Austin, I think for sure.
To be fair, that's a lot because of time.
Yeah.
Austin's run was like 4 or 5 years. And if you counted it, if you just picked a random 4 or 5 years out of Cena's career, I don't think you can compare it to Austin at any
No, I mean,
point.
those individual years beat out any individual year of Cena, basically.
I mean, yeah, Cena is the company guy, and he'll continue. I think Cena is absolutely a lifer. I think you're going to see Cena doing stuff with WWE until the day he dies.
Yeah, I think so.
But you know, they moved him to SmackDown. He's been gone a majority of the last year, and I don't doubt like people still come for him. They buy his T-shirts and all that. I think it's spread out a bit more. And you asked me for one guy that's bigger. I don't think I can name it, but I can name a group of guys that I think do better. And that's like, you'll like this one, Wago. AJ Styles, Seth
You
Rollins.
mean, well, he is the
Roman
face that runs
Reigns.
the place.
Oh, he did just beat John Cena, so he used to rest.
What was the
That's-
was the
that's
armband
one
like a
bet.
was the armband like a passing of the torch?
Yeah.
It's great if he just like starts wearing the never give up shit.
Think you are in this like spirit of introducing new titles and new championships and stuff soon. We got the Cruiserweight coming up, the 2 titles that are going to be determined on Backlash. Maybe the Armband Championship is coming up next. And that's like the actual figurehead of the company. Who knows? One guy, though, that might get into some heat if you buy stupid, absolutely ridiculous petitions is Roman Reigns. I thought that this was fucking hilarious. There's a petition out there to get Roman Reigns to stop wearing an illegal vest. This is just hilarious. It's a great way to like do the whole D'Lo Brown thing and stuff. And it makes a good point. I mean, if this were real, it wouldn't make any sense for him to be able to wear a vest. But obviously, it's just fucking gear that they're wearing to the ring. But we've been saying for a long time, Roman Reigns should change it up. He should get rid of the vest, right?
Yeah, I've actually grown to like it again. Ask me in 6 months, I might have changed my mind, but I'm a wrestling fan. I'm allowed.
I'm not digging the vest anymore. I want
Yeah, I
something
don't
different.
think so either. I think he should take a few more steps away from the Shield gimmick. He's really holding on to that as far as, the music and the vest. So I need something more fresh from him, freshen up his character.
Yeah,
And
fuck it,
ring-
they're all
ring
baby
gear would be a
faces
good
now.
stop.
Let's put the Shield back together. Problem solved.
Yeah, they are all baby faces.
Yeah.
Well, Seth isn't fully yet. He's on his way there.
He's a babyface.
Peyton, I think you mentioned it before about having something a little bit more on like the tribal side, like that Samoan heritage, right?
Well,
Or
when
is it
he was
something
in NXT, he was Leia Key,
Yeah.
and he came out in like what would you call it? Like some kind of like sheet or something wrapped around his waist, and it showed off much more of his tattoos that he had, and he has much more sense than he has the coolest arm sleeve of anybody in the company, and hiding any of that, even though it's a sleeveless vest, but to be able to show off his entire upper would be much more beneficial to him, I think.
So we got this is something I don't think anybody really cares too much about, but it's something to just mention for the hell of it. Stephanie McMahon wrote a book that was supposed to be released next month, yet they decided to delay it until 2020. What's up with that? Why delay it that much, Anybody think that there's something to this, or is it just like backstage bullshit? Like they had some kind of an error with the printing thing and fuck it, we'll just skip 4 years.
That wouldn't delay it that long. I think this is on purpose. I think she has plans to do something big in the next 4 years, and she wants to be able to have that included in her book.
Yeah, she went for Vince to fucking die so she can put that in as an arc.
Well, see, I was trying to think of something that might have been like a problem that they didn't want to be in the book that they maybe couldn't have taken out, and I can't think of anything that would have been controversial. So the only other thing could be that there was something big coming on, and I mean, what in the hell would that be? Like, that's kind of interesting to think that there might be something awesome coming in the future.
Chapter 7, Getting to Know the Macho Man.
Oh, God, imagine that being it. Let's move to something pay-per-view related. They announced that there's going to be an NXT TakeOver event right before Survivor Series, NXT TakeOver Toronto. So that means that we got one before SummerSlam, we got one before WrestleMania, we're getting one for Survivor Series. You guys expect there to be one before the Royal Rumble as well?
Sure, why not?
No, but I'm not in favor of Canadians getting anything.
I'm going to say no, only because usually the next takeover is in December.
Well, see, this is what's weird about it, is they have had 4 takeovers in 2014, 5 in 2015, 3 so far in 2016, 4th being the NXT TakeOver Toronto one in November. So if they do that in November, I think that that's going to cut them away from doing the December show that they did the last time around, which was, what was that, Rival, I think? Or Respect?
No, I think Respect was the one that was like October-ish, because it was like the short one.
It was London. London was the December one. So they're going to Canada for this one. It's kind of like fulfilling that sort of go to somewhere else sort of vibe. I kind of don't think that there's going to be one before the Royal Rumble. I think there's going to be one in either February or March. Maybe like very early February, or they might even just wait and not do one until WrestleMania. Because there's less people that are on the roster right now than, they'll move people up and stuff, but maybe that would be a good time to just get a little bit of a break on the road to WrestleMania instead.
I kind of always wanted them to do an anniversary of Arrival, but they've kind of like is their big show, but they've kind of made that their SummerSlam thing.
What?
Like having their because a lot of people are equating to the Brooklyn show as the closest thing to their version of WrestleMania. I always thought they could have their own big show, and I guess that's it. But I always thought the anniversary for Arrival could have been that.
We have a sad story to talk about as far as just depressing kind of people getting back on the bandwagon or off the bandwagon, whatever that is. Scott Hall was thrown out of a TGI Fridays. He was drinking, causing a scene. Apparently, after downing a bunch of Coors Lights and tequila shots, he hit on a bartender. The bartender's father was in there. He refused to leave. The manager got involved. A whole bunch of stuff like that at an airport. I mean, what can you say? Scott Hall, man.
The story is brought to you by DDP Yoga.
It doesn't seem like it's working for him. It seems like it's doing pretty well for Jake the Snake, though. Like, Scott Hall just refuses to, I don't know, fall in the line.
Alcoholism is a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Sucks for him. Sucks for people he has to deal with, but it's not shocking.
That's what's sad about it the most, isn't it? That it's not shocking.
Yeah.
You hear it enough times, you kind of expect it. Like, I mean, next week we could hear the usual story of Sonny going back into rehab or something like that, and it's just going to be another thing where it's, at a certain point, probably should just give up. Not talking about Scott Hall giving up. I'm talking about the people that are trying to help him out. Like, he clearly does not want to be helped out, and that's really a shame. But it's a good thing that they got him in the Hall of Fame already. They already took care of that. They don't got to worry about anything in the future, that kind of stuff. So
it's a shame because, like, we'd seen a lot less of these stories, and especially with China dying, I know it's sad to say, but it is what it is. So to see this happen again, and we're seeing all this brought back to surface, it's sad, but unfortunately, when you live that old wrestling lifestyle that they had in the 80s and the 90s, it is what it is.
So let's brighten things up a little bit with our last story for this edition of the Hot Tags. The New Day has been trying to figure out a way to host Saturday Night Live, and apparently SNL is listening, so they put out a little bit of a poll asking people, a whole bunch of different wrestlers, who would they want to see host SNL. And on the list were The New Day, John Cena, Enzo and Cass, Chris Jericho, Bayley, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and Charlotte, of all people. So, gonna get your guys' opinions. Who do you think would be a good host of Saturday Night Live out of that group? You got any favorites? Do you think that none of them would be good? Anything like that? I'd go New Day. Although I think Jericho could be really fun.
I think New Day or John Cena is the best out of that group you mentioned. Has John Cena ever been on Saturday Night Live?
Probably. He's been on everything.
I don't think he has.
Out of all those guys, I'd probably go with John Cena. I don't find the New Day funny anymore.
See, I think that the New Day could be funny if they don't write the skits themselves and stuff. Kind of depends. Some of these I can't understand at all. Dean Ambrose totally won't be good. He didn't even want to do the goddamn Stone Cold podcast. And Seth Rollins doesn't strike me as a really funny guy. And that laugh, too, it's going to be bad. Bayley is just bright and colorful. She's not funny. Charlotte, God knows what they would think with Charlotte. I'm thinking Jericho might be the best overall pick. Peyton, you got any favorites in that race?
To host SNL?
Yeah, you think anybody would be really good?
Oh, it doesn't fucking matter, dude. SNL hasn't been relevant in 10 years.
All right, well, tell us what you guys think. If you have any favorites that you'd like to see do that, and any other stories that we were talking about, drop that in the comments below. We're going to take a break and take care of the Ask Him and the Rest Hold and everything else like that. After we get done with that one, we're going to go to our main event, the Backlash predictions. So stay tuned, everybody, for parts 2 and 3 of episode 250.